she's about to go through in the next couple of weeks ahead of us. But it's Fatou Sow and Amina Mama and Aisha Imam who are among the really topmost gender scholars of this continent, and great scholars by any standard in Africa and outside of Africa, who initiated this whole institute. And when we refer to them as African scholars, I think it shouldn't be understood, as if they are great scholars only in Africa. They are great scholars anywhere. Fatou was with the CNRS, Centre National de Recherche Scientifique, for those who know of France, which is an extremely prestigious institution. And she actually has done all her career there as a researcher with CNRS and with Ifan Sheikhanoujob here in Senegal, and has been teaching in Senegal while being a researcher of the CNRS. And if I think for people who know CNRS, to be recruited into CNRS is no joke at all. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who are struggling, who spend all their lives actually struggling to get appointed, and they never get there. So these are great scholars, therefore, by any standard. And it's an honor and a privilege to have them as lead Kodesere scholars as well, and lead African scholars who started this institute. The history of the institute is, I think, a bit interesting to, some of you probably have been here before and have heard this story, either as participants in the Gender Institute or as participants in other Kodesere institutes. But I think it's important that we remember today, particularly as we talk about the crisis of higher education in Africa, and we see the training grants and fellowships department that Aminata is heading expanding and expanding and expanding. It is the fastest growing unit of Kodesere today. And that is largely as a result of the crisis that is unfolding on our continent, the crisis of higher education. A number of things that ought to have happened at the universities are not happening there anymore. And we are confronted with the consequences of that crisis in our everyday work at Kodesere, with people having difficulties in framing proposals as they ought to, or writing papers as they are expected to. But this institute has a different story, it has a different history. It was not created because there was a crisis, and I think it's very important that we remember that. The institute, like the Governance Institute, like the Youth Institute, was created because of an acute awareness of the need to transform the social sciences on the continent and to make them take gender issues on board in a much more central way that they have been doing until then. We had great scholars like the late Achima Feche, who is known to almost every African scholar of a particular generation at least, who said that he was doing gender analysis because that made him a better social science scholar. Because without a gender perspective on social issues and on social dynamics, there is something certainly missing. And therefore, he went into gender analysis out of that awareness. But when Aisha, Fatou, and Amina organized the Kodesere conference in 1991, it was? 1991 here in Dakar, seeking ways of what they call engendering the social sciences, making the social sciences much more gender sensitive. It was a pioneering move, in itself, organizing that conference. And I think one of the conclusions of the conference was, okay, it's well and good to say we want to engender the social sciences and all the, the issues related to that. But it is important also just to know how to do it. And they realized that actually there are very few people who knew how to do that gender analysis of social issues in a pertinent way. And the decision then came to start this institute from that particular point in time as a way of building a cohort of young scholars every year, who will be familiarized with the techniques and methodologies and the conceptual issues and the debates going on in gender studies. And gradually, therefore, increasing the number of scholars who are able to do that, to take up a research project and carry it through. So it was actually the first of the institutes to be conceptualized, but it came after the Governance Institute. The Governance Institute was started in 1992, The Gender Institute, the idea came up in 1991, but it saw the light of day in 1994 only. So it took time to put everything in place. But both institutes have been running since then. And the Governance Institute also was not established because of a particular crisis. It was established because African scholars felt that what we were witnessing on the continent then, which are the transitions, the wave of national conferences and political liberalization movements, processes that are unfolding on the continent, part of what somebody else has called the third wave of global democratization, Samuel Huntington, who sees the beginning of that wave in Portugal in 1974. But it got to us much later, and towards the end of the 80s, the fall of the Berlin Wall, you know about, and then political crisis almost everywhere on the continent as well, and then Berlin towards the end of 1989, organizing the first national conference in West Africa, inspired certainly by what happened in France during the French Revolution, States General and the petitions of the world. So the challenge then was, how do we understand what was going on in the world and in Africa in particular, where the existing social science theories and paradigms are you know, pertinent enough, appropriate for a proper understanding of what was going on in the country. Given that, you know, it is not possible just to proceed by, you know, analogy, saying, okay, it happened, you know, like this in Europe or in America or somewhere else in the world at a particular point in time. So maybe what we are saying is, you know, no, that is not, that wasn't found to be an adequate way of looking at issues. And therefore the Governance Institute was established to enable people to not only understand what was happening, but also to be creative about the reading we were making of what was happening in our continent. And so it's only later that we had methodology workshops and other things coming as responses to the crisis. But these institutes were started when the universities were not doing badly at all. They were much better than they are now, and the concerns were of a different order. And I think this is very important because at the end of the day, if we begin thinking about where do we go from here, and what kind of training needs there may be, assuming that one day we can consider the crisis to be largely resolved, or that the universities have come back to a much more healthier situation. And therefore, we need to move on and begin intervening as scholars or as social scientists of this continent in a different way and at different levels. And I think it's only by remembering where we came from and how we got into training in the first place, research training, that we can move on. I think one other consideration that has gathered the community then was also the need to create some kind of intergenerational transmission of knowledge as a way of contributing to the reproduction of our own community. Which is why even in activities that are not considered to be training activities, but research activities like the national working groups or the multinational working groups that we've been launching, in those activities, in those programs, training is also built, you know, right from the beginning. They all begin with, first of all, they are, you know, made up of experienced scholars, senior scholars, and junior scholars, so that there's some kind of mentoring that can take place between them. But also, they all begin with methodology workshops or orientation workshops, you know, and then they end with review workshops where conceptual and theoretical issues are also